right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another week of NapKim Math. And you all are in for a treat on this one. This is going to be a little bit out of my comfort zone, but that's okay because it's all about learning for me and trying to make something that benefits a lot of different people. Um, so, for those of you who don't know who I am, I'm Kim. I'm NapKim Math, and I have been playing Balatro for a couple weeks now, and I had been manually tracking data, and I started creating a mod to track that data for me. So I didn't have to spend hours and hours every week tracking every single game, because the end result is so that I can build some things to analyze it, since by day I'm a business intelligence engineer. So I'm very excited to show you where I am today. But before we dive in, let's start with our one good thing, inspired by Rob Talks Nonsense on Blue Sky. He started that trend, at least from my perspective. And one of the things that is good is that yesterday I was talking to my husband about the stream and how I was going to convey things, and he helped me see things from a different perspective. And he wanted to make sure that I wasn't dealing with some imposter syndrome, giving too much credit to other things, um, and really take ownership of what I've been building and be proud of it, because I am very proud of it. I know sometimes that may not come across very well in the stream, especially because this is a very new area to me. So um, I was really thankful for that conversation. That really helped me out a lot. And so thank you to my wonderful husband. You were you're my one good thing every day. But in particular, that conversation was the one good thing. I'm so happy you did. And for those of you who don't know, Napping Ood is my husband. He's the one who's commenting. Um, so yeah, let's get into it. I have things on different screens that I'm used to because I do want to share a couple different things in a couple different ways. And so I may be looking around a little bit more than usual because, yeah, things are in a little bit of a different place so that I can kind of optimize how I'm sharing things for you all. So I'm going to switch to this view right now. So this is what you all, if you have been here before, have seen me track my Balatro games. So I have been tracking like the run information, like what deck we're playing, stake, whether we won, lost, what jokers we got a sticker with, what we unlocked, seed, start and end time, date, and then a bunch of the stats that you get on the end screen. Also, the round data. This is like what blind we're playing, in what round, what tags we had, whether we played or skipped it, our score and our ending money. Hands, every single hand we're playing, when we played it, and our score. Our shops, which I made this a lot more manageable, and so this is it. What I have been doing recently is not as detailed, but the goal was to be able to track everything that popped up in the shop, every card, and then every booster pack that's its contents. Our jokers, when we get them, when we get rid of them, how we get them, whether they have a sticker or an addition, and like whether they were sold or if Gros Michel decides to disappear himself, tracking that. Our consumables is where I'm putting basically all of our planets, our turrets, our spectrals, and for what I'm building, I'm also going to put my vouchers in there as well because it'll be easy to track all of those together. Playing cards, our initial playing cards, what we ended up changing them to, how we changed them, all of that, when we changed them, a link back to the original card. And then our poker hands, when we level up our poker hands based off of planet cards, burnt joker, space joker, all of those, tracking that here when it happens and how it happens. So that's in general what I've been working towards. And like I said, when I first started this, I was spending, well, with the first pass, all the detailed information that I wanted to get, it was taking about 6 to 8 hours a game to track, and that was not sustainable. So I edited, said, okay, I'm going to cut X, Y, and Z. I don't need that information. I want to focus on these things. I did that, and it was still taking about 4 hours. So I edited it some more and got it down to about 1.5 to 2 hours per game, which when I play 4 or 5 games a week, that can really add up. And I realized that through looking at some of the mods that I was seeing, that there might be a way to build a mod to do that for me. And if you all have been here before, you know that the mod that I'm building is called JimbosData. And what it's doing is we're building it so that we can export all the data from the game that we want into CSVs, comma separated values, which you can use in Excel or Google Sheets or whatever you want. Like you can even bring it into BigQuery to write SQL to analyze it, which is what I've been showing on Saturdays. Or you can even work directly in Python with it. So it's a very flexible way to look at your data without having to download anything that you don't know how to use or don't need. And you don't, it's all of these things are open source so that they're free, easy to use, to make it fun and enjoyable. So first step is getting all this data into CSVs so that we can analyze it. Second step will be to actually analyze it once we are at a good enough place as our first step, with our first step. And then maybe third step is kind of more of the predictive or like mid-run looking at things to see the best, maybe figuring out what we could do with what we have. And so that's kind of what I really want to focus on today, is because I made a lot of progress since I last showed you Jimbo's data. I do apologize, last Saturday I lost my voice and so I could not stream. But that also gave me some deep time to really focus on building it out some more. And so I have made a lot of progress on it with a little bit of help. And so that's what I wanted to share with you all today. So I am going to switch over to show the code. And for those of you who are not familiar, this is Visual Studio Code. And I'm going to take you through all the different files that I have. Actually, I'm going to switch back to my desktop for a second. I have it all in my GitHub, which is linked in both Twitch and YouTube. It's just github.com/napkimmath. And if you click on Jimbo's data, it is all in there with some additional information and a README about what's in each of the releases. And so I'll switch back over to our code. And like I've said before, I'm a business intelligence engineer. And so all of this is built in Lua, which helps me hook into the Balatro game. That's very new to me. I'm not a software engineer, but I'm learning to do these things. And I did use some tools to be able to help me do it a little bit quicker, but I'll get into a little bit of that later. And so this is, since we're hooking into our Steam modded, we have to have a manifest that tells us some of the metadata around our mod. So it's just Jimbo's data. We're now up to version 1.0. I feel confident enough releasing this as version 1, even though there are still some bugs and some other things, other features I want to add in. It is in a good enough space where I can say, you know what, version 1. Let's go. And just some information that's needed to be able to run it. Now, our init file is what our manifest, you put your main file, and that's what it hooks into when it starts up. And so this, in using some of the Steam modded features, hooks into different parts of the game. And this looks a lot different than it did last time I showed it, because I basically was, in my init file, I was basically going to some of the other very specific, like Score.lua or I had the Joker Tracker.lua, and it was going directly to those and then hooking into things there. But I did realize that to be able to use this efficiently and reuse some of the things between jokers and shops and end game, start game, all of those, it would be better to put a lot of those hooks in the init file. And so all of this stuff at the top, it's basically every time you start a new game, it basically resets a lot of this information to make it so that you're not pulling in information about the previous game. And then we hook into this smods init, which is the function that when the game starts, you use the Steam modded built-in function to hook into all of these different parts of the game. Now, one thing that I'm not going to do is I'm not going to show the Balatro source code on these streams. If you want to look into it, there are different ways, depending on your operating system, to be able to see it. But I am hooking into specific game functions, so that is something that, like, I want to make sure that I'm not, like, doing anything to put anything out there that shouldn't be out there. But this is what I've been developing based off of that, and I'm making sure not to, like, I'm making sure to try to develop as much as I can of this based off of my research, looking into the code myself, but like not copying, pasting large chunks of the Balatro code in here. So this first part is where we're just loading a bunch of stuff and making sure, like when we start the game, it hooks into that start run within the game and starts running a couple different things. Again, some of these things are just being initialized, and then once the game gets initialized, it basically calls our JimbosData.lua, which will have the run start information in there. The consumable tracker, which has all of it. It ended up having, or it will have the shop. The shop is still a work in progress, but it has all jokers, planets, tarets, spectrals, and will have vouchers as well. Vouchers aren't in there either, but again, work in progress. And that is mainly to capture anything that is there at the start of the game. So if I haven't built in the ability to, well, I haven't tested out challenges yet, so, but in challenges, sometimes you do have initial jokers right off the bat, but in certain decks, like you have the Hex Spectral card, we'd want to capture that at the very beginning instead of relying on it to pick it up, which I don't know if I'd be able to do otherwise. And that captures everything available at the start of the game. Then we get into our hooks for our consumable tracker. So this basically goes into at different points of the game, things that will add a card to our deck, remove from deck. The sell card, I haven't figured out how to get working properly yet, but that's again work in progress. But add to deck and remove from deck are two of the ways that I capture when things are added and removed. Game over captures our end of run data, so that just basically hooks in when the game over function happens to write out to our run end CSV. Hi, Default. Thank you so much for the raid. Let me see if I can. I forget the name of the. Is it shout out? Yes, shout out to Default. Because I really appreciate you being here and rating in. We are. I think that'll work. If not, okay, there we go. Yes, perfect. I appreciate it. We are going over. Thank you. I think I only have 9 followers on Twitch. I really don't care about all the followers right now. I just am enjoying this, so I appreciate it. What were you playing? I think it looked like you were playing Minesweeper earlier. Um, oh, practicing for a tournament. I didn't know there were Minesweeper tournaments. That's pretty cool. That sounds like a lot of fun. I'm sorry I wasn't able to hop in, but I hope I can next time. I just started going over the updates to Jimbo's data. Oh, very nice. One hosted by Woke Void. I will have to check it out. So yeah, we started going over the Jimbo's data mod. There has been significant progress since the last time I showed it. All of it's updated in my GitHub page, but I just had started walking through. And so we are on the init, which hooks into different parts of the game. I was just explaining we're at the game over part. So this captures the run end CSV. And I did recently add in a hook that also writes if you win an ante 8 and decide not to go into endless. I haven't tested that out yet, but that logic is in here as well. And I will be testing that out this week because I realized that was something that didn't get tracked when I was playing during the week. We also have hooks for new rounds, and that helps get your round information like the blind, the ante, your score, all of that information. I'm not going to go through all of this step by step because it is a lot, but I did do my best to comment throughout to make sure that not only did I understand what was happening, but hopefully other people could as well. And let's see, this will write like the score at your end of your round, and then we have I am capturing when you play a hand, the cards that you play, the cards that you discard, and the cards that are remaining in your hand, because down the road I would really like to get to a how did each of those contribute to your score. And so this part hooks into the discard action. And then there's the evaluate play, which gets to your hand, your score, and all of that, what hand you actually play. And this is for the shop, which isn't working quite yet. It is more of a placeholder, but it is on my roadmap of one of the next things to try and get after. And then a buying hook. Again, this hook isn't quite right, so I'm looking into that a little bit more. All of these prints are for debugging, which I'm still working through. I appreciate it, Default. I really do. And then consumable usage is working. So this calls in when we actually use a consumable and tracks what was played and when it was played. And so right now it has it for turrets, planets, and spectral cards. The modifications are not quite working yet either, but again, a little bit of a placeholder to try and get that figured out. Booster pack openings on the roadmap as well. And that's the end of the init. There's a tracker helpers file that gets us to some of the things that will be used in more than one of each of these, which again is something that I realized I needed to do after I kind of put everything in version 0.1 out there. So I didn't need to be calling all of these over and over again and recreating them. And so we have the date suffix because when we're creating our CSVs, we're going to append the year and then the month on them just so we can have a little bit more of a sustainable way of keeping those together. Getting the UTC timestamp so we know date time when things occur. Get your profile name, so if you want to track data in different profiles, it will differentiate between those. And then some common run information that is kind of the link between all of those. So the run ID, which is going to be your profile, the seed for the game, the deck you're playing, and then the stake. And so it has that run ID and then all of those separate as well. And then this gets the round information, commented out blinds because it wasn't working the way I intended when I intended to call it. And then these are just for creating the directory when you play it for the first time and making sure that the directory is there. And this gets detailed information about cards for when you play hands, discard, all of that. Abbreviations for your playing cards and bringing in information like addition, enhancement, seal. We know with playing cards there's no sticker, but some placeholders in there to kind of help me understand how it's working. And there are a couple different ways. They're using the card object or like the center key. So just trying out different methods for kind of understanding that. Kind of mapping that set to see what we're doing, and then getting those details returned so that we can bring them into different functions. And then getting our poker name hand. Now, Jimbo's data is mostly unchanged. There's a couple of fallback things, but this contains the run start and the run end information. So, and what's changed is the ante 8 part. But basically, it's getting a lot of that data that shows up when you win the game. So, how many cards you played, how many discarded, all of that, what you were defeated by, and writes that to a CSV in consistent format. And same thing, this is when it actually writes. So this is getting all the information, and then down here writing the beginning run information and then the end run information into a CSV. Our score is brand new. It has round information and hand information. So we're getting our card details from here. This is what I'm very excited about. There are still some things to work out, but really excited about it. When I finish going through the code, I'll also show you all how it works. I'll play a couple rounds of a game and show as it's playing how it exports. But getting like your foil, holographic, polychrome, or negative, And this is not just playing cards, but also jokers as well, because they can be, they have some of the same attributes. Getting our round information. And then we write our round information. There was a bug where on our boss blind, I was basically exporting one row for the ante that it was in, and then one row for the next ante, so there's some logic in here as well. And then getting a lot of that information and exporting the round information to CSV. Then getting the hand data, so every single hand we play, the poker name, how many cards we played, or sorry, what cards we played, like what cards we discarded. I'm still working on getting the like scoring right, because right now it has like the base amount. But again, it's something that is on the roadmap. And then actually writing that to a CSV. And they're going to be in consistent format, not inconsistent format. And then finally, the consumable tracker has our jokers, which we had initially, and then adds in the future the shop. Right now, it's just things that were actually used, but then also any consumables, so planet cards, tarot cards, spectral cards. Right now, it does not have vouchers, but it will in the future. And then also playing cards and poker hands. And so there are a lot of things that basically need to be set up at the very top, reset for the start of every game, just tracking how many of each have been played, and then getting our data set names since they're all going to be stored in separate CSVs. Just some more initialization, some of the boring stuff, and then getting down to our joker tracking, which you may or may not have already seen before, but getting the sticker information, determining where, which is pretty cool. So we can say where we bought it or where we obtained it, which right now I am still working out some of like linking things that aren't just buying, but it is an iterative process and I'm very happy with the progress I've made. And then exporting that out to a CSV with all that pertinent information. And this just takes a snapshot of our jokers at a certain point in time. And so that way, if we use our joker change to see if anything has actually changed, then we can say that it's been modified and when it was modified and how, which again is a work in progress, but setting ourselves up for success. Then this is where we actually get all the pertinent information for our jokers, where this first part is what jokers are added and pertinent information there. And if it was modified, we have that down here, checking to see if they match, and then logging that to our CSV. And then we can also check for removed jokers. Right now, I am not differentiating between whether it was sold or destroyed, or like Gross Michael just disappearing on us. But that is also on the roadmap as well. The shop, this section is not exporting, so I'm just going to skip over it, but it's kind of a placeholder for a lot of that. And then very similar to the jokers with the consumables, where we're getting the pertinent information, like where we get the consumable, what it is, some specifics about it, and where it was obtained, and then writing that out to a CSV. And lots of code that gets us to there. I know I'm skimming through it, but I think the fun part is going to be seeing it in action. And then we have two more sections. We have the poker hand level and then the playing cards. So poker hand level, really is just the poker hand. It tracks all of the initial poker hands because why not? And then anytime it levels up. I've tested it for planet cards and it works, but I need to make sure that things like black hole or jokers like burnt joker or space joker, those are actually captured as well. Lots of testing, but a lot of fun doing it. Taking a snapshot of it and checking to see if it's actually changed. I also need to make sure that it works when the arm comes around because that's one of the times where I think the only time where it can actually go down. And then updating the tracker and writing it out to the CSV. Finally, our playing cards, getting all the pertinent information like suit, rank, whether there's an addition, enhancement, or seal. I don't have the modifications quite right yet, but again, work in progress and iteration. I have a persistent ID to make sure that I'm capturing changes to the same card. So we know that you can have multiple copies of the same card, or you can have a ace of spades that has bonus where another ace of spades is glass, making sure that I'm getting the correct information for those and tracking those. And then logging all of that into our trackers, and writing that to CSV. And so we do have an initial function for our initial deck because we know that it's not always going to be the same. For the most part, it's those 52 cards, but in our checkered deck, you have 26 spades and 26 hearts. And in some of the challenges, you have different decks as well. And then getting some of those card events from those wrappers where I believe this also hooks into like jokers and everything. So we do have like add, sold, removed because you can't sell playing cards. And that is that. So I'm going to show you what the output looks like first from one of the ones I ran this morning. And then I'm going to start up a game and show it side by side and how it adds to it. Thank you. I really appreciate that default. It is definitely fascinating for me because this is all very new to me how to do all of this. I understand the data that I want, and for the most part, I kind of can see how to get there. I think of it as like learning a language like Spanish. Like a lot of the times I can read Spanish, but when it comes to like writing it myself, I can't think of the right words or um, the right way to conjugate the verbs and everything. And so it has been a lot of back and forth, lots of different resources. I have used some generative AI to help, but the generative AI I've been the driver and it's been like the GPS where it's been kind of guiding me when I need it, but I can also ignore it if I want, which I don't know. I don't know how all of you drive, but sometimes I just am like, no, GPS, that is not the right way to go. I'm going to go a different direction. I've tried out a couple different ones, and I started with ChatGPT where I was kind of using it like a search engine, where I'd be like, I want to be able to write to a CSV, for example, in Lua. How do I do that? And that worked okay. I felt like I was fighting it a lot, where it would just not remember things or tell me to do something different. I did have some times where it was very successful, sometimes where it wasn't. I tried out the Code Assist via Claude in Visual Studio Code, and that was okay. I kind of ran into some of the same problems where it wasn't quite getting what I was saying. And then I started using Gemini, which I have found the most success with. I actually have the Gemini Code Assist over here. But again, I feel like AI is that GPS instead of the one actually driving, and so I found it really helpful. I don't know if any of you know who Joe Reese is. I think that's how you say his last name. I follow him on I don't know what social media site, but he's a data engineer, and he actually sent out a newsletter almost like an hour ago, and I read it, and like he made some really good points where AI can be used as like an accelerant to what we want to do, and kind of can do some of the grunt work where we can apply that business context, apply some of the like more high value problems to be able to do what we want. And so when I use it kind of as like a pair programmer, it has really helped me accelerate this a lot faster than I would have been able to do myself. You avoid LLMs entirely. People tend to teach better. I totally get that. I keep going back and forth whether they are helpful or hurtful. A lot of the times for me, like I see it as like almost like a textbook. Like I know they're not going to be right all the time, so let me just put that out there. But it's just like referencing a textbook. I am definitely more of a reading learner than a hearing learner. And if I write things down, I tend to learn it better. And so I do tend to, if it tells me something, I generally try not to just copy and paste it in. I type it in and kind of like work through it in my head why that is. And especially Gemini in particular kind of walks through the reasoning of why it made those decisions. And so I do find that helpful when I'm learning something very new to me. Um, So here we have our run start information. It just has our profile. I'm just using a test profile, but actually if I go up to NapKim Math, um, it has my NapKim Math profile. The seed for each of our games, which you get at the very beginning, which is really nice. What stake, what deck, and then what time you start the game. Run end tells you, it has that concatenation of your profile, seed, deck, and stake, what time you ended the game, whether you won or not. This is testing, so I wasn't trying to win. And then your best hand, all of that information that you get at the end of the game on that splash screen, down to what you were defeated by. So that's small blind. This is where we get into some of the new stuff. So our round information, we have that same run ID, which helps connect to all of our different tables. The ante you're in, what round you're in, and then the blind name that you played, how many hands you played, how many discards you used. The money is not quite right. It's the beginning money, not the end money. And so that's a work in progress. And then the score you need to beat that specific ante. So, like for things like um, is it the flint where it's space chips and everything is halved, or like the needle where you're only playing one hand? It does have that specific score you need, not the general one for that ante and round. And then what score I got at the end of that round, and then what time we finished that round. Then we have our poker hand level, where we have our hands right off the bat, our 12 initial hands, that has all of our poker hands and how they're all level 1 at the beginning of the run. And then here I used a Uranus card to level up 2 pairs, so it goes from level 1 to level 2, saying where I actually got it, what ante, what round, and then the timestamp. Playing card. This is a little bit of a work in progress, more than others, but has all of our initial cards in our deck. Right now it's in the order that it comes through, so it's not anything helpful where it's like aces first or twos first. It's just kind of all over the place. But I added from our booster pack a 7 of diamonds that was a multi. It had multi on it and a red seal. So it grabs all of that information as well. You need someone to say drink, and you were curious if I would be willing to be that voice. Sure, I would be happy to do that for you, Default. I'm always happy to help you. That'd be fun. Our Joker information, we kind of have the same thing where this tells us this will be our primary key for this table, which is a unique identifier for each row. But we also have this where we can link back to the original Joker. So we got our 8-ball in our initial shop. So that's our first Joker. But then we ended up selling that same Joker in our Ante 2 round 3 shop. And so we sold it. It was a holographic Joker. So it captured that. And it has both we bought it for $8 and sold it for $4. So it has all of that pertinent information as well. Speaking of drink, I need a sip of water. I need to remember to hydrate. This is another new feature where we have our hands. So again, a lot of the same base data where we have our unique row, our primary key is going to be our run ID, and then ante, what ante number it is, round, what round number, and then hand, what hand number. Thank you, I appreciate that, Default. Which we do have the ante and round out here as well. What blind we're playing, and then the hand number in round. So some of these we just played one hand, but when we got to this small blind, when I was like, I'm just gonna lose so I can exit out and see what happened, ended up playing 4 hands. Has the hand that we played, where a couple of the boss blinds, like the ones that are flipped over, and one of the other ones that discards 2 cards every time you play a hand, those can sometimes throw like unknown. So I'm working on that as well, but it's a known bug and work in progress. But this captures every single card you play, whether it was scored or not, but still in the order you played it. Captures every single card you discard. And all of these you can see our 7 of diamonds that was multi with the red seal. It captures all of that information, not just 7 of diamonds. And then what cards are remaining in your hand. So you can see everything that's there. So like if you have raised fist, you can see your lowest card to figure out how much multi you got from there. And then right now it has the base chips, so the poker hand before any of the extra chips are added in. The total score is 0 right now, and then the money at the end of that hand. And then finally, we have our consumable, which has same thing where we have our primary key, which increments of 1 for every action with one of our consumables, where we got it. So ante, round, and then like booster, shop, all of those. This will eventually have, if we sell it in one place and use it in another, those separated out. Right now it just has used, but we have our Judgment, Tarot, and Uranus Planet card. And I'm eventually going to be tying it to like Judgment, what Joker it created, or Uranus we already have that we leveled up our poker hand, but like if we get the Empress and we add 4 multi to 2 of our planet or 2 of our playing cards, I'm trying to speak too fast, tying to which cards we changed as well, so we can track that. So I'm going to switch to, there we go. I'm going to start up Balatro, and switch to a different view so we can see it all at the same time. And it's a little bit more important to see the changes that come through than the actual game. So I will be like talking through what I'm seeing in the game just in case it's too small for y'all's screens. This is my test profile. I actually reset the profile this morning so that I could test out a couple more things. And so I'm going to open up my run start information. So as soon as I hit play, we will see that new row come in where we have our seed for this white stake red deck. And at the time it is 2:47 my time, so +6 to get to UTC, or no, +4 because it's 12 based, not 10 based, to get to 1846. And so I'll switch over to our hand. And so we won't see the discards until the hand is actually played. So right now I'm discarding a king of spades, 9 of clubs, 7 of diamonds, and 3 of spades to hopefully get, all right, we got a straight. So I'll play my ace of diamonds, king of hearts, queen of spades, jack of clubs, and 10 of hearts. And I have a king of clubs, king of diamonds, and 8 of clubs remaining. And that'll get us through in one hand. And you see that it spit that out. On our 1-1 small blind, we played a straight, and it has the cards we played, the cards we discarded. We discarded 4 cards, and then our 3 cards remaining. Now if we go to, I'm going to move to our Joker. So I'm going to open up my Buffoon pack, and we'll get Odd Todd. See a new row just added in there for Odd Todd. 1-1 booster pack. We added it. He's $4 to get, but we ended up getting him in a booster pack, so we didn't see that value for ourselves. And let me move to consumable. So I'm going to use temperance, even though we're going to lose money on temperance. And so right now it says consumable use. I do want to have that in the shop, but we use temperance. And we have enough money to get a spectral pack. We have ecto, and we have familiar. I'm actually going to use ecto. Right now, it won't tie ecto to the Joker change, but I do believe that the Joker change will show up. So right here we have ecto, where it was used. It was used in a booster, so it did pick that up nicely. And then if we go to Joker, we don't have a new row, but I think when I enter a new round, it might do that for me. Yeah, so when I switched it over to go out of the shop, it has that it modified it to a negative Joker. But I would like to better tie that to ecto. So I'm actually going to go ahead and get the charm to play a couple more of these. I can't use Wheel of Fortune, but we'll get Temperance again, and you'll see that there. And we'll use the Devil on our 5 of spades. I think that our playing cards, it's not picking up the modifications yet, only additions. So the hook is actually one of the hands that it's not going to capture right now the correct hand name, but that's okay. I'm going to go ahead and play that 2 pair since we have Odd Todd. So yeah, you see that the hand name that we played is not captured. And let's see. All right, full house. But it is capturing the right cards and everything. It's just when it's actually connecting to the game to get that information, it's not quite figuring that out yet. So we have that 2 pair. And at the end of that, we had 768 chips. We only needed to get 600. And we played 3 hands and 3 discards. And we had $5 to start, so it did capture that because we haven't cashed out yet. I was hoping I would get well, we can get a planet pack. I was hoping to add a card to the deck. So we'll use Saturn. So Saturn will show up in here. You can see that we got it in a booster. And then if we also go to poker hand level, we do have that extra row for that straight from Saturn being leveled up. And let me add another joker. I want to, all right, we'll add misprint. I want to see if we can get to one more shop. All right, we can play a full house. Switch over to our hand. So we got that even before it's scored, which is probably why it doesn't have the score information. We don't have any cards still, but we'll get our consumable. Earth is in there. Poker hand level went up for full house. And I did test it, and it does work if you have credit card and you go into negative money. I was afraid it was going to break somehow. So we have a 2 pair. Let me go ahead and play that. With misprint and ramen, we might have enough. Yeah, misprint decided not to help out very much. So played 2 pairs and got us through. And we got 2480. We needed to score 1200. Started with $3. We didn't discard any, played 2 hands. And of course, I still don't have my playing card pack, but we'll get a Mad Joker so we can see. Mad Joker was added, and we tracked that it's a polychrome. It was $9 to buy him, so he zeroed out our money. And I'm going to try and go into Ante 3 so we can maybe find a pack that we can open. There we go. Scored a lot more than we needed. All right, now we got some packs. So we'll go into our playing cards, open up our pack, and we'll put a 2 of diamonds glass. So we added that from a booster, 2 of diamonds that's glass that has a blue seal. And it has a new card information, and our 4 of clubs that's steel, added that in as well. And I am trying, like, for Luchador and some of the other jokers that, like, if you disable the boss blind or if you have Chico where you don't have to play your boss blind, well, it disables the effect of the boss blind, tying that into the Joker tracker as well in some capacity. And so I'm going to sell, let's see. So I sold ramen during our played round, and it was $3 back. And I'm going to do that for these as well. sell our Mad Joker, and you can see that they tie back to the original Joker ID. Sell Misprint, same thing. And then I'm going to sell Odd Todd, and then go into my hand, and I'll end the game. High card, we didn't discard anything and had a bunch left over. I sold those so I wouldn't end up accidentally getting a bunch of multi with misprint and continuing on. So at the end of that round, that was our small blind. We scored 57 chips because I was trying to lose. Played 4 hands but didn't have any discards and had $13 to start. So that looks good. And then our run end information, we did not win, but we can see that our highest best hand is 11066, which matches. Right now I don't have most played hand and times in there yet, but we see that we played 40 cards, discarded 23, purchased 10, didn't reroll, 22 new discoveries. Ante 3, round 6 is where we made it to. We had $13 left, made it to the small blind, and our seed that we've been using the whole time, CPT JBM TN, matches throughout as well. So even though we couldn't see it until the very end, it was capturing it from the very beginning. So that is kind of where Jimbo's data is at. I do have a laundry list of things that I am still working on. There's a lot more to come, and I'm really enjoying working on it because I am learning a lot. And my data expertise, I think, is really helping me kind of understand how I need to structure the data so that I can export it properly. But if you test, let me know. Let me know what happens if you run into any bugs. Please give me a shout. And I can, a lot of them are probably known, but some of them might not be known. I do like to test things so that they are, I try to break things and try to work out any edge cases. But if you go to my GitHub, it's in Jimbo's data. You just need to make sure that you have the manifest and any of the Lua files in your mods folder. And make sure that you have Lovely and Steam modded, otherwise it won't work. And yeah, let me know what you think. I think next steps are for me to figure out those modifications, like if a card is modified from a tarot card, like the Empress, being able to tie that both to the playing card information and that tarot card information, getting our vouchers in there, getting what tags pop up and when we skip them, and getting that shop information in there. But I also do have that roadmap on here as well. Once I feel like, for me, it's in a good place to continue to keep using. Like I'm going to use it for all my streams on Tuesdays and Thursdays. But once it's once I'm kind of ready to take it to the next step, I will create some either SQL or Python templates so we can all run analysis together. Again, using all free tools. I'll probably use Google Colab for Python, because that way you don't have to download anything. You can run it directly in your browser, and you can tie into CSVs. And also show you all how to integrate it into BigQuery or another database that's free and easy to use as well. I think that is where I'm at. I would love your feedback. I would love to hear if you're using it, how you're using it, and if there's something that you haven't heard me talk about that you think would be a really cool feature for it. And I can do my best to work that in the roadmap. I did put a pause on tracking my games manually because it was taking away the time that I needed to be able to work on this. And so I think for the foreseeable future, I am going to focus on building this out so that I can use it how I need to. It will take some time, especially to get some of those nuanced pieces of information correct. But we will get there. And I appreciate you being here on this journey with me. I know that I'm going to switch over to my video now. Usually at the beginning of my streams, I've been asking people if they have one good thing for the week. If you are here and you want to share that, please do. I was saying at the beginning that my one good thing is that yesterday I was having a conversation with my husband about how I was going to talk about all of this, and he was really encouraging and made sure that I didn't sell myself short and didn't get some imposter syndrome from not feeling like just because I'm not a Lua developer that I couldn't speak confidently about this or was not confident in what it was producing, because I am, and I'm really excited about it. If you all have, thank you so much, Default. Do you have a one good thing that happened to you recently that you want to share? If not, that's okay as well. If people want to share or lurk, it's up to you. But I always like to start my streams with positivity, and we're going to end it with some positivity today as well. There is, I know that this is I think it's called software and game development, is what I'm currently streaming in. And I know that I wasn't actually doing any developing, but I'm not confident enough in my Lua abilities to work through the code live on stream. I could if it was SQL, but not Lua. And so that's why I'm kind of sharing my progress. You have an official LLC, a bank account, phone, and email for your LLC. That is awesome. That is fantastic. Huge, huge steps. And I'm really excited for you. I know that is fantastic for you. And I really wish you so much success because you are a fantastic person. And I really appreciate you raiding into my streams, coming and chatting and bringing so much joy and fun into my streams. I think with that, I am going to see if I can find someone to raid into. We can raid into Scholarly Frog again. I liked their stream. For anyone on YouTube, I am going to turn that off so we can hop over to a different stream.